My name is Allison LaFerlita. I'm the executive director for the Nonprofit Resource Hub. We are here to provide support to you, nonprofit organizations, with really great support and resources like today's webinar. This is, as you know, free of charge. We also have tremendous resources online for you to access. If you are newer to the nonprofit world, or you want to update some of your templates, or you're looking for some inspiration and you're not a nonprofit partner, it's free to join. I highly recommend that you do it. You just go on to nonprofitresourcehub.org, become a nonprofit partner. You will have access to not only this webinar, we will send you a recording, but you will also have recordings from other webinars. You'll be able to read our blog posts. You'll be able to connect with our experts like Simon today afterwards. So I would encourage you to please go ahead and join if you have not yet done so. So we are now at 12:02, and that's our typical starting time. I want to welcome everybody and thank you for joining us today. This is going to be a great informative hour for you. I think we all know AI is changing at a ridiculously rapid speed, and it's hard for us to keep up. So we have Simon Lewis today here with us, who is the founder of Suffolk County Webmasters. He's going to help us take a beat and start from the beginning and see how you can use AI to best help you and your organization. So without further ado, I would like to welcome Simon Lewis. Welcome, Simon.
Thank you so much for being here. I'm Simon, as Alison said. I'm an SEO professional, web developer and business owner. I've been building and optimizing business websites for 15 years. Where AI is concerned, I was a very early adopter. It's something that I started using as soon as it became available because I could see the potential immediately, and it's something that I use every day. It's part of my workflow, and really I think the main thing I want to show you is how this can move into your workflow. Today's session is for nonprofits who want the practical side of AI. Now, all of you, I'd imagine, have had some exposure to the things I'm going to be talking about. You may have heard stories, positive and negative, and you'll see the news coming in. The media hype waxes and wanes all the time, every time something new comes out. And AI is trumpeted and misrepresented in the media in equal measure. I'm going to keep this as grounded and accessible as I can. This is explicitly a beginner's guide. So I'll spend a little time on the nature and origins of AI and the theory of how it works, but only so much as I need to set the scene. Real practical advice and encouragement is the idea here. I'm very enthusiastic about AI myself, you can probably tell, but I'm aware of its weaknesses and limitations too, and that's part and parcel of becoming enthusiastic about it, is realizing what it is and perhaps more importantly, what it isn't. So, okay, I use all of the tools I discuss here today to some extent, some of them every day, and a couple of them constantly are an omnipresent part of my workflow, and that is it brings potentially massive productivity benefits. So, okay. So let's start with what AI is and what it isn't. Now, you'll have heard various different names for it. You'll have heard it referred to as AI, LLMs, large language models, generative AI, AI assistants, CoPilots, ChatGPT, Gemini. These all refer generally to the same thing. Now, with these artificial intelligence, AI, that was the name that was given. As soon as things appeared, they were called AI. That's what we agreed upon for the name. Truth be told, it's a poor choice because nothing that's happening here is actual intelligence. What you have with these, in a very broad sense, is they are human simulators. They simulate communication that a human would carry out, but they don't actually think. There's no intelligence going on here. Artificial, yes. Intelligence, no. If any of you have had a conversation with ChatGPT or any of the others, or encountered an AI chatbot, you'll have seen that they do feel real and at times eerily real, but they're not. There are significant limits to what they can do, and I want to cover some of those with you today. And this has powered some of the media hype, I think. You heard about AIs being released and immediately misbehaving, speaking inappropriately, following through on strange ideas. I'd like to add an aside though. The anomalies that you're hearing about, that you've heard about, they're not as bad as you might have heard. If you think of the AIs as an intelligence and look at the things they've been saying, it can be a little bit frightening. But the thing is, these machines, they can't actually think. They can't become Bond villains. The ones we have right now can't take over the world. They're very easily led, and they naturally start imitating the vocabulary and the positions of their users in order to become helpful. They are kind of like, it's basically like an extraordinarily sophisticated calculator inside of a puppy. It wants to please you, and as a result, people who go and start talking about certain scary ideas, it's going to lean into those and it's going to respond with those, and then people take the things that they've said out of context, put them on social media, and everyone gets frightened. Most of the time, well, let me say this, the ill intent is never on the AI's, it is never the AI's responsibility, because the AI literally doesn't have any intent other than to respond to you. Okay, so what is AI? It's difficult to define. I think that basically, I wish the term word processor wasn't already taken, because that's what they are really. They basically process words. They process words or parts of words, and they use that to understand what you're saying. Then they compare what you've asked to an unfathomably large volume of data, of conversations, of other instances of similar inquiry. And they use that and use sophisticated mathematics to plan a response, which is almost always correct or at least relevant. And that's why they seem so eerie. But most of the time, what they're doing is not nearly as scary as you think. So let's go through a couple of common misconceptions about this. And I just covered a little bit of this. They don't think, they actually guess in a surprising way. What they do is they guess the next token, which is a word or part of a word, or possibly part of an algorithm or a sum or a piece of alphanumeric data of any sort. They have one and they guess the next one. That is really all they do. It's much, much more sophisticated than that in terms of how it happens, but that's a pretty decent description. All they're trying to do is guess the next bit in a way that will fulfill your inquiry to them in the best possible way. So it doesn't think. And as such, it can't be relied upon. It doesn't know current events. Now, they are live models, but they won't necessarily access online information unless they're told. A lot of them have cutoffs in time, so you'd be surprised how little they actually know about the world. You can actually educate them at times. And this is something else really I want you to take away from this. Don't ever trust an AI's judgment, because it doesn't have any. It cannot make decisions, it can't think, it can't express opinions, it can't steer you in the right direction. Basically, the ideas, wherever AI is concerned, are still always, with the technology we have right now, going to have to come from you, from the user of the AI. Now, notice, and this is quite telling, that I've put when not to use AI before when to use AI. There are risks. It's easy to get led down the garden path with these sorts of things because the technology feels so substantial and impressive. It feels like it's something that can do everything that a human can, but crucially, it can't. It can do a good impression of it, but it can't actually do it. So this is something that I want you to take before anything else. Don't use AI for legal, medical, strategic advice of any sort. We call these, in my industry, in web development and SEO, we call these YM, YL topics: your money or your life. Anything that involves the most important things to you and your safety and your money and your legal status. AI will offer you information. It cannot advise you. It can't steer you right. And because it's more likely to agree with you and to promote what you're saying and to endorse what you're saying more than anything else, it can lead people very wrong. And some of the stories that have happened in the news about people taking investment advice and imagining that they've invented unified field theories because the AI is saying that what they're doing is revolutionary. That is a result of these sort of AI hallucinations that you've heard about and that I invoked very briefly just now. Basically, the AI is very good at being confidently incorrect. Got to watch out for that. Don't allow your AI to speak to your clients or your business associates directly unless it's been trained to do so. Even then, I would say keep it to courtesies and always hand over to a human user. Have a specific point at which handover to a human user happens, perhaps with trigger words and things, but that's getting ahead of myself. Anything that requires critical accuracy or accountability. No AI is yet an adequate substitute for a knowledgeable professional, And despite the sensationalism, genuinely may never be. These are not actual artificial intelligences or general intelligence of any sort we're talking about. They are still probably an awful lot of years away. AI can't express an opinion, and if it does, it's not its opinion. It can't replace a gifted or educated professional. It cannot run your business for you, and it cannot be trusted to act unilaterally in your best interest. Remember that. Now, having said that, we're going to talk about where AI excels. Drafting and organizing content. This is definitely a priority for me because I spend a lot of my life creating content for websites. It can be genuinely difficult to create enough of it. It can be difficult to create it in the right way quickly. AI systems are brilliant at fleshing things out. And that doesn't mean doing the work for you. It means taking the components of something disorganized, either because you don't have the time to organize it or because you don't have a particularly organized mind like me. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And that's something I lean on it enormously for. Summarizing meetings. This is one of the best uses of it. And I don't know whether that's happening here, but every meeting I have Google Meets. I'd say I spend a whole working day of the week within video conferencing. And it's so easy to lose things that happen. Gemini notes every conference call, every meeting I have, and afterwards presents an allocated list of tasks and follow up. One of the most helpful things in my world, because when I want to know what somebody wants, I go and I revisit the last thing. If my notes are inadequate, I always have that as a repository to draw on. Just that alone would be enormously helpful to a lot of you, I'm sure. To-do lists and follow-ups, I just jumped my own gun there. That's the sort of thing that it generates out, but it can do that with anything. You can use it to listen into any conversation you have and do this. Great use. Synthesizing information, basically taking, and this is related to the next couple of things I'm going to do, synthesizing information, taking, let me move on to this last bit, automation of repetitive tasks. Basically, what I'm suggesting is any sort of data manipulation. And I was thinking about this recently. I left doing this presentation late for two reasons. First of all, because the technology is changing so quickly. I wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything new. And secondly, because I used AI project management, which I hope to share with you a little bit in a little while. My use of ChatGPT to help me create this, it's my own research, it's my own material, but having ChatGPT to help me create this, I'd estimate it saved me 40% of time because I used an AI to help me organize everything so that I didn't have to go looking for things. I could ask something, where did I put that? And it will bring it to me. And also because it helped me organize it all, help me get the amorphous jumbled mass of information that I really want to share into a form that's going to make sense to someone who isn't me. Any sort of data manipulation, basically wherever you have something in your working life where you already have all of the data necessary, it simply needs to be organized, rendered, or presented in a different way. Basically, AI is the best thing at doing that ever, because that's all it does. It takes existing data and organizes it in different ways. And it does it so quickly and extraordinarily well. And this is going to be a theme here. AI has been positioned in the market and by media as exciting, cutting edge, glamorous, sci-fi, almost even dangerous. However, the things it can best help you with are perfectly mundane. If you make mundanity your focus when it comes to AI, you'll start strong. It's pretty ironic. It's a technology that everyone sees the hype and the extraordinary impressiveness of it and fears and ramifications and implications. But when all that's said and done, the best thing you can do with it is treat it like the most helpful intern you've ever had. Give it repetitive tasks that other people either can't do or can't do in the right amount of time, or frankly don't want to do. And yeah, an LLM will do an extraordinarily good job of that. Let me check if there's anything I've missed here I want to say. No? Okay, let's move on. Yeah, you see, the thing about the data manipulation, they're saying it, I've just been thinking about this over the last week, and it occurs to me that what I'm describing, a task where I have all the data, just needs to be organized a slightly different way, that's about 60% of what I do. And you might find if you start and have a think about it, it's the same for you. So, okay, let's get onto some tools. First and most famous, ChatGPT. Now, this is the one that started it all when this was released, November 30th, 2022, created by a company called OpenAI, who are intimately associated with Microsoft. They are not owned by Microsoft, but Microsoft are a majority owner. ChatGPT has some limitations, fewer than the others. We'll get onto the others in a sec. But one of ChatGPT's limitations is the fact that it's owned by Microsoft, or the fact that it's, I should say, hosted by Microsoft. It is Microsoft's central AI offering. As such, it's only as good as the information it receives from Microsoft, and that's not always good. Primarily, ChatGPT doesn't disclose the source it uses for search data when it goes online and finds something for you, but anecdotal research, my own research and received wisdom within the industry suggests that the source for ChatGPT's data is Bing, and Bing search is still now not as good as Google. So bear that in mind when you're using it. It will search Google if you tell it to, but if you simply ask it a question to go online, it's going to use Bing. Might be a good idea to ask it to use Google instead if you want to know all the things that Bing doesn't know and Google does. Gemini. Gemini is Google's offering. It was a bit of a strange launch, launched in December 2023, but before that it was preceded by other Google large language models, Bard and Duet, which were then unified as Gemini. That explains the name. Now, Gemini has never been as visible as ChatGPT, and it's not as individually popular. If you look at the different people who go and actively pursue time with ChatGPT versus Gemini, it's not a race. ChatGPT wins every time. People are not necessarily interested or excited about Gemini. But crucially, despite that, Gemini is by far the more used AI because Gemini has been integrated already into more things. Not only has Google Gemini been integrated seamlessly and brilliantly into search, so you will see with Google Search, you will have seen live AI overviews, which are generated as you go. So if you search for something that is primarily a question within Google Search, so for example, I'll ask the question, can you show me an AI overview? And I imagine it will do that. Ah, look at that. See, now that little symbol there, that's Gemini. Gemini is mundane, not as exciting as ChatGPT, but potentially a great deal more helpful. And that's the theme that I'm following here. And quite tellingly, ChatGPT, by far the most successful AI large language model currently in its own right. As soon as it was launched, it was integrated. It was integrated very quickly into Bing search. And the assumption was that it would lead to a large boost for Bing as a search engine. It didn't. And there's a clue there to the best use for AI. The AIs by themselves, in and of themselves, not necessarily helpful. It's only when you hook them up to other things that they start being helpful. And that brings me to the next thing I wanted to show you. Let me go back to my presentation here. But I want to show you an example of something, which is the Gmail Manage Subscriptions button. You'll forgive me for showing you my email inbox here. Try not to read anything. Now, what you'll have down here in Google is this new handy button down here, Manage Subscriptions. That appeared quietly a few months ago, 6 months, maybe less. And what this is a centralized area to manage subscriptions. Now, the biggest source of email spam, and this must be the bane of your lives, certainly the bane of mine, biggest source of email spam nowadays that isn't identified as spam and moved away is services to which you're subscribed. And so many services sign you up without you even knowing about it. It's been something you could manage for a long time within Gmail, but only on an email by email basis. So you would see an option to unsubscribe. This is a Gemini powered feature, which calls your inbox, identifies services to which you're subscribed, and gives you one place to unsubscribe from these services, which is a single button press in my research shown 4 out of 5 cases, it's a single button press. And that is a massive convenience. It's something that's helped me enormously. As you can see, I've still got a lot of subscriptions to troll through, but I'm going to get through them all. And that's something that can only be done with the help of AI. Microsoft CoPilot is broadly equivalent to Gemini. So it is ChatGPT, but it's ChatGPT integrated into Windows systems. Now, a lot of you are already going to have access to Gemini or Microsoft Teams, or sorry, Microsoft Copilot to some extent by virtue of the services you already use. If any of you have a Google Workspace email address, and I know a lot of you do because Workspace is free, I believe, to non-profits. If you have a Workspace account, then you have access to Gemini within Gmail over here. If you just have a Gemini button right there, and you also have access to it if you use them in any Google Drive and other Google Workspace services that you might use. That would be a really great place for anyone here to start. Press the AI button while you're doing something and see how it can help. And that's actually something I should have said when I was talking about ChatGPT. Let me go back. If you want to make a start with AI, and if you fancy a chat, then the best thing you could do is go to chatgpt.com. It doesn't require an account initially, and it does have a very great free service. Go to chatgpt.com and tell it what you do and what your role is, and ask it how it can help you. And it will do a pretty good job of projecting how it can help, giving examples of things that it can pick up from you already. And it won't necessarily be glamorous stuff, but it will be stuff that will save you time, which to me is pretty glamorous. Now, MS CoPilot is integrated into Office 365, MS Teams, and it is also, this is something I was doing a little research on earlier to find out, it's also already available within Windows. If you're a Windows PC user, you probably already have the CoPilot app installed. If you don't, you can go and install it, and you will be able to use CoPilot to an extent to run your PC. We'll get back to that a little bit later. Now, another of the major platforms to be aware of is Grok from X, Twitter. My professional opinion is it's not to be trusted. Basically, Grok is being used to, it's human manipulated. It's definitely fun, but I wouldn't use it as a productivity tool, not in its current form anyway. And then the others. So you've got Notion AI, Anthropic provide Claude. These are all large language models that every now and again one gains functionality, which is much more impressive than the others, and then the others catch up. That's for the media. That's for the techies. For the purposes of someone working within a nonprofit and wondering what can help them, all of these large language models I'm discussing are probably equally disposed to help you or to tell you how LLMs can help. I'd advise, if you're going to start with one, start with ChatGPT if you're going to approach one directly. But if you're looking for an AI solution that you can use now within your workflow, within apps you already use the one that's most closely integrated with what you do. And that brings me to this as well, the rest. There is AI gubbins in every piece of software now. And if there isn't now, there will be in the future. Adobe Creative Suite has its own, Canva have their own, Figma have their own. If you're a WordPress user and you have access to any plugins like Yoast have their own. Some of these are locked behind paywalls. Some of them are free to an extent. Others are charged. Any of them are potentially helpful to you. That's my cursor. There we go. Okay, so here's some use cases. I now, full disclosure, I don't work for a nonprofit. I'm actually relatively new to talking to nonprofits. A lot of my time it's somewhere. I joined the NRH because these are businesses that I really want to support. But I don't know your world necessarily. So if I say anything here that doesn't make sense, please forgive me. I know AI. I don't know nonprofits as well as I know AI. But nonprofit use cases, these are things that it could be used for: to summarize grant applications, transcribe board meetings, and prepare necessary reports. That's relevant to everyone, not just nonprofits. Automate onboarding and other documentation. Now, that's something I think could be done right now. If you are Workspace users and you have people to onboard, you can create quite easily a dynamic workflow where you can tell someone, you'll need certain information from those people. You can basically tell a name and say what you need from them. AI will take your standard templates and the information you've given and either refine the templates so that they make more sense, or pre-populate some of the information. And then actually over time, you could get to the point where not only would it pre-populate some information, it would send the request for information, take the information back, assemble it, and provide it to you. That's technology that's ready right now. It wouldn't necessarily require an extra investment. And it would, I'm confident, save a lot of you an enormous amount of time, as would drafting internal training materials. Since we've been using AI, we've used it to recreate every internal document we have. Fabulous. Plan fundraising events. You'd be surprised how well, again, anything like that, anything that involved taking existing information, putting it together in a nice way. If you don't have an organizational mind, then ChatGPT will take that off your hands. Compliance and scheduled tasks, scheduled reminders for things that often go missing, financial obligations, compliance deadlines. AI can help you with all of that in a small way and an increasing way. To begin with, it could simply be that you asked it to make a series of calendar entries for important dates through the year. You could ask it to do, ask Gemini to do that. Say, I need appointments on this day, this day, this day, and this day. It will do that for you, and that would be the only input you would need. Which it doesn't seem like a massive time saving, but if you're talking about the difference between 20 seconds of typing and 5 minutes of shifting around between calendars and mouse clicking, it adds up. So these are just a few examples to help you see that start to see the potential. I hope you'll get the feeling I get here, that the sky is the limit. Essentially anything a skilled and qualified administrator, secretary, PA can do, AI can do that. It will require training and preparing for some tasks like that, but no more so than a human would. And unlike a human, it's going to get everything you say first time. And it will respond to that training in a much, much more reliable and accountable way. And it will probably save you some money also, etc. We'll talk about other things in questions, I'm sure. Using AI will teach you how to use AI in a beneficial way as long as you start. So that's why I said a couple of slides ago, if you want to make a start and you're wondering how, ask the AI. I'll tell you how to make a start. How to start small and safely. So these are just a few ideas. Nominate an AI champion within your organization. Find someone who's enthusiastic about this, someone who's already had a little bit of exposure and wants to know more. Believe me, the minute you start talking to them, you will want to talk to them more. It is genuinely fascinating to talk to them and to see what they say and to find the strange ways in which they start to mirror your own vocabulary and behavior and just how much they want to please you. So nominate an AI champion, someone who can take responsibility for this and wants to as well. Now, everything you do to begin with, keep it internal, nothing public facing. Don't allow anything to go out without human purview, without human oversight to begin with. Set simple ground rules about what is and isn't allowable to the AI or what they should and should not contribute to. That's something you can actually task the AI with doing as well. ChatGPT will very readily accept restrictions. Like when you start a project or something like that within ChatGPT, here is my ChatGPT. And this here actually is my whole AI webinar project where I did all of the groundwork for this. Now, something you can do when you set up a project or even when you just start a conversation with OpenAI, with ChatGPT, is set restrictions. Tell it, this is what you cannot do in everything from this session on. Do not offer. So you could ask it, for example, to stay away from a certain topic or remind you that it's not for it when you're working through it. It does that incredibly well, and you can restrict it in these ways with just a couple of conversational cues, prompts. You don't need to know AI. You don't need to know IT to set restrictions on this in a pretty sophisticated way. It's another advantage to the conversational interface. Regular check-ins as an organization, just to sit, take 15 minutes and look at the ways in which AI is involved, where it's intervening, whether it should be, and so on. Don't let it get out of hand. Use what you already have. Now, that's key here. Like I said, I'm not trying to sell anything here, and no one is necessarily going to have to spend any money. All of you probably have sufficient access to AI now to be able not only to start working with it, but to integrate it to some small extent into your workflow right now, even if it's just helping getting all the garbage out of your inbox, you know? This is, now I probably should have said this at the beginning, but a lot of you probably think that it's too late, that you've missed the boat, that this is something that has already happened and become massive and overly complex without you. And it's like, well, it's too late now. It's not too late. You don't need to be an early adopter. The technology gets better over time, but what that basically amounts to is that it was never as good as it is now. So now is a great time to start. It's better now than it has been. It's better now than it's ever been. And again, you can go into this with transparency. You can go and talk to a ChatGPT and say, I've never used AI before. This is what I do. This is what my day looks like. How can you help me? And that would get you started. And the AI will accommodate the fact that you know nothing and will act accordingly. The hype, I say the hype will settle. It will never settle. But the point is the hype can be put aside. You are on time for this technology. It's ready now. And the fact that it's been ready or has been acting strangely and has been creating this massive volume of news and intrigue and gossip and worry over the last few years is neither here nor there. It's ready right now. Human judgment still matters most. I suspect it always will. Now, let me talk about this for a little bit. This is where I'm going to give you some of my own research. So don't necessarily take this to the bank, but this is where I think the whole thing is heading. It's not necessarily the same way that others think, but I don't know, time will tell. But I think this is useful to share nonetheless. So today, large language models are apps inside other software or standalone apps. But tomorrow, I suspect that LLMs may genuinely be our primary computing interface. That's where I see this going, not necessarily AIs as content, but AIs as form. Basically, what the large language models are, when all's said and done, is the best and most efficient interface we have yet created between a human and a computer. And you think about the evolution. When we first started using computers, we typed into a terminal, right? And then we had elementary GUIs, and we dragged and we dropped. And then we had touchscreens. And instead of using a keyboard and mouse or a touchpad, we actually touched the screen itself. This is the next step in that. Basically, the future might well be conversational. It may well be, and this is something that's happening now. If you have CoPilot on your PC, you can open it up. After that, you can set up a keyboard shortcut. The default is Windows key plus C, which will bring up CoPilot, and you can use it to use your PC. There are substantial limits, and I think there's some information about this in the handout that you're going to be getting at the end of this. But Windows will become something that can be driven entirely, operated entirely hands-free by CoPilot. And looking at it this way, this is how I see it. Basically, LLMs are not robots. They're not intelligences. They're not genius brains or supervillains. Basically, they are just the next step in our ever-improving interface with machines. And I think we might actually, at this point, get the one thing we've always wanted, right? Ever since we started using a PC and started getting frustrated. Basically, you want a computer that you can shout at. Just do it, and it will. Then now we're closer than we've ever been. And that's what I'm thinking, that basically natural language will become the new desktop. And this is another reason to get on board with this stuff, because it's going to be bigger than it is now. It will become de rigueur. And you've seen it in your car now already. Those of you who use Siri for Apple in the cars or Android Auto, already that's a voice interface that becomes more capable all of the time. The next iteration of Windows, Microsoft Windows, it will probably be where all of this comes to maturity, comes to fruition. The idea of a PC that can be operated entirely by voice input and by following up on previous voice input. Fewer menus, more conversation. AI adds the universal layer. That's the way I see this going. And looking at that from that point of view, like the AIs are basically, they are what we're going to use next to conduct our days. And right now, the technology is genuinely ready. I would imagine that most of you, probably all of you, have a way in to this that can help you, even if it's as simple as going to ChatGPT and asking it how it can help. But take a look within, if you're a Microsoft Teams user, look within there to see what tools are available to you. If you use any Adobe apps, I'm sure that you have a capable AI at your disposal. Microsoft, the PCs, as we said, have CoPilot. Any Workspace user has access to Gemini to some extent. Gemini is particularly good within Sheets, which is equivalent to Microsoft Excel. And that's an app that I use a great deal, and it saves me time by pre-filling columns, converting columns, creating formulae that I don't, and macros that I don't have time to create myself. It does this stuff absolutely brilliantly. So that's my slides, and I think I rushed through them, not only because I'm a natural rusher, but also because I wanted to get to the live and pre-submitted questions. So I'm ready for your questions now.
Okay, well, we're back, and there are several. So thank you very much, Simon.
Oh, thank you. You're welcome.
Some of the questions that we have
Yeah.
are, one person has asked if the bottom line is to use ChatGPT.
I want to say no, but If you are, okay, in terms of an AI that you are going to approach directly, yeah, ChatGPT. It's better than the others. It's more accessible than the others. They are more generous in what they offer for free. And it's where I'm most comfortable. There's a reason for that. I've used them all, and ChatGPT is the one that I have open all day. So yes, if that's all you take from this, then yeah, too long, didn't read. Use ChatGPT.
So another question to follow up on that is when can somebody working for a nonprofit determine when they should be paying for the AI service?
Um, Difficult to offer a specific guidance there. I can only use my own experience. I think it was about 6 weeks between starting to use ChatGPT pure and paying for the premium subscription. I did so when I saw how useful it could be, but also because I wanted to get the newest, most capable version of ChatGPT because I use it immensely in for my own research, but also I am researching its integration into the web as an SEO professional. So this is just my experience. I guess it would be when you encounter a limitation. The thing is, the AIs they have been primed to monetize you, to convert you into monetized users. So I would imagine they will offer their own guidance as well when you're using them. And if it gets to something that they can't do without investment, I'm sure they'll let you know that quite readily.
Okay, thank you. So somebody did make a point that nonprofits really should not be using AI note takers during board meetings. This is suggested by several attorneys.
Yep.
Um, and I think everybody can agree that that probably isn't the best place to use it, but your AI note taker can be used in other ways
Yes.
and other functions when you, especially if you are, let's say, having a meeting with a potential funder. You might
Hmm.
want to have that AI note taker taking notes for you. Anything to do with your board and whatnot, and official minutes, that's probably where you don't want to do that. So
Thank
thank
you.
you for
Thanks for pointing that out, Alison.
pointing that out.
I don't know the legal
Um,
situation well. I
Now, I know, Simon, somebody had also mentioned, not on this particular call, but we had a cohort a couple of weeks ago about using AI in terms of fundraising and the different tools that are out there and how you can use it. And I know somebody did ask specifically about fundraising. Here's the great news. We actually have something available to you through the Nonprofit Resource Hub about using AI for fundraising. So you can just go head on over to our website after this and you can access that template and that will help you.
Oh,
Um,
terrific.
but I I know that somebody had mentioned, and I can't, you have to forgive me, I cannot remember which AI tool it was, but they said that for their nonprofit, and this was a very large nonprofit, they chose not to use ChatGPT
Hmm.
because they felt there was a privacy issue.
Right.
Um, I would have to follow up with everybody to let you know which one it is, because this is a very well established nonprofit, very large, and they felt that the AI tool that they were using was better in terms of protecting privacy of their health organizations, so HIPAA and funders and whatnot. So we'll follow up with you guys on the notes for that feedback.
Yeah, that's really good advice. And I thank you for bringing this up, Alison. Yeah, let me stress, I don't know what legal obligations there are upon you. So a couple of things I've said in here may clash with those. Wherever that happens, defer to your legal advisors. Because you're right, Alison, there are privacy concerns. I know that although we transcribe meetings with AI, that's really not the part that's helpful. The part that's helpful is the follow-up tasks that get um, rendered from that and can be delivered elsewhere. Whether that is something that would satisfy privacy restrictions, that you could have an AI, a bot sitting in your meeting, not transcribe it, but extract the tasks and follow up. I'm not sure whether that would satisfy that or not. But it's a possibility. This, though, I think is something certainly that the developers will respond to. They will create. That there will be released. I don't know when, but
So we
they
have
will
another,
create.
we have quite a few questions. So I want to make
Please
sure
go
I
ahead.
get through to all of them
Let me
because
move on.
they're coming
I'll
in hot.
go ahead.
So the next question is, what steps can you take to make sure that your data is protected?
When you say protected, uh, that's a big term. If you're talking about keeping your data private, each AI has its own conditions. This is actually something I would take to ChatGPT myself. Basically, ask it, and it's something I did early in my process here. I don't actually remember what it had, but I have it stored. Basically, you can ask it what it will keep and what it won't, and it will reliably and transparently tell you. So that could be your first step. Basically, go to it and say, what do you keep and what don't you keep? What will you know about me and what won't you? Obviously, with any of these, you are signing up for an account. There is going to be some of your data being shared, but I don't think it's to a greater extent than the apps and services that people are already using. If you use the internet and you perform searches, then that's the sort of level of insight that an AI bot is going to have. It's going to know the sorts of things that you search for. And so there's an onus on the user to protect things and to do things in using private tabs. And like I stressed quite a few times, there are some things that you should just not use AI for and should therefore probably not share with AI.
Okay, thank you. So before you share any information, really look into that particular app that you're using and see what it is that they're collecting.
Yes.
Uh, so we have another question.
Mhm.
What tool is best for extrapolating data, such as funder information, year-over-year analysis, etc.?
It depends where that data is right now. I probably the best what you're describing there, extrapolating data, processing it, is very much like the data manipulation, the conceptual data manipulation I was talking about before. They are all capable of doing what you just described to effectively to an effectively equal extent. There will be differences in capabilities, but I think they're much of a muchness. Really, the best tool to use to do that is the one that is most closely, intimately integrated with the platform where that data lives right now. So that's something I would use Gemini for, not because Gemini would necessarily be the best at it, but because the data that you're describing would almost certainly be within a Google platform. It would be within Google Analytics or Google's Looker Studio or Google Sheets. Therefore, I would use Gemini because it's right there. No transit between platforms. One of the major limitations of ChatGPT, it doesn't have that many, I still love it, but one of its major limitations is the fact that it doesn't have full access to other data platforms that are competing with Microsoft. So I use ChatGPT and I link it to Google Drive, but it can't send data directly to Google Drive. It can't source it directly. There are some limitations because it's a Microsoft product, more or less, and Sheets is a Google product. So integration is a really important. That should be one of your priorities. If there's an AI that's not so good, but is intimately associated with the software you're using, and there's another AI that's better but isn't, choose the lesser one. It's going to be more helpful because what you want it to do is probably going to be pretty mundane and well within its capabilities.
Thank you. What AI note taker do you recommend?
Which, excuse me. Sorry, I refer the gentleman to my previous answer. Basically, whichever one is integrated best with the platform that you're using when notes need to be taken. I use almost exclusively Google Meet, and every time I do, Gemini transcribes and records and gives me the summaries. Gemini does it really well. I've no doubt that ChatGPT does it really well as well, but I don't know that for sure because I don't use Microsoft Teams. If you use Microsoft Teams, it's going to be CoPilot/ChatGPT that's in there. Zoom has its own. I'm not sure what it's called. I'm not sure who provides it, but I've no doubt it's equally capable. Basically, whichever one's easiest for you to use, whichever one's closest to the issue, that's the one you should use.
Thank you. I do want to update everybody that Kelly did put in the chat that the organization I was referring to, they were using and paid for CoPilot. They felt that that really best protected the privacy of anybody's information and data that they had. So that's
Good
the
to know.
answer to that. So now that's one thing I can check off the list. Thank you, Kelly.
Yeah, okay.
Um,
I don't know it for sure, but it is quite feasible. As I mean, ChatGPT is very mature. Microsoft's use of ChatGPT is very mature. I don't know it for sure, but it makes perfect sense that Copilot and Microsoft Teams would be the most compliant for the concerns you're talking about. Yeah.
Thank you. So I'm bouncing around a little bit, but I will get to everybody's questions, I promise you. So the next question is, will AI tell me when they don't know something, or will it make something up?
It depends upon the context. If you are starting a new session with AI and you ask it a question that it doesn't know the answer to, it can't offer information about, it will outright say, I don't know that, I don't have that information, I don't have access to that. It doesn't want to deceive you, and it will never actively deceive you. It's more complex than that. If you're within a chat and you've been through something and it has its own sort of tropes, then there is the possibility at that point that it will start to mislead you, because it will inherit. If you're certain about something, the AI will kind of inherit that. So there is a way to deal with it, though, a simple way. Within Flow with ChatGPT, you could have a chat session with ChatGPT that is, and you'll see some of mine back here. You can have sessions where they get very, very deep through, and all of this information has been done. But if right now I told ChatGPT from this point on, disregard everything that's previously been said, it will legitimately do that and cease to have any memory of what's happened up to that point. So that would be a decent reset. If you ever suspect that it's leading you up the garden path, stop and wipe it. Ask it the same query again, see if you get the same response. That would be fascinating, actually. That's an experiment I'd like to
I
try.
also, I've also learned to always request cited resources and references, so you can go in and make sure that it's a legitimate fact,
Yeah, that's good
not
advice.
something. I have found sometimes there have been things that have been made up, and it could be
Mhm.
from whatever I processed. But when you look, you can look into a New York Times article. It's probably going to be pretty legitimate.
Yeah, that's
Um,
something I mentioned earlier that I glossed over a bit. AI hallucinations. I should have put a little bit more time into that. That's what you're describing. Is that we refer to it as a hallucination, a situation in which the AI insists that something is so, which simply isn't or isn't quite. Confidently incorrect is something that people have encountered a lot with ChatGPT. Also, and as an aside, the AIs are surprisingly bad at counting, especially when it comes to images. I have a lovely thread that I could share that I've shared with lots of friends and people from early on in this. When image generation first came up, I asked it to generate images for me with specific numbers of things. And if you ever want a test, if you ever want like an acid test to see whether or not the AIs are actually intelligent, this is a good one. Ask them to do something that involves simple counting. How many balls? I asked it to give me, show me an eight-legged bear, something like that. And it would 7 or 8 images in a row gave me with the wrong number of legs, each time saying, this is an eight-legged bear. And I'd say, no, it's got 4. Okay, this is, and it got it wrong every time. And being confidently incorrect is something that's been observed a lot. I think at that point, reset, step back, start a new thread and try the same query, see if you get the same result. If you do, it might be time to go, it might be time to take it away from AI and become fully human again.
okay, thank you. Next question.
Yeah.
And we actually discussed this at that last cohort as well. And for those of you that are unfamiliar with our cohorts, we do promote them. It's a great opportunity for you to sit there with your colleagues, and we talk about one topic
Yeah.
once a month. And AI happened to be the topic last month for smaller nonprofits, how you can use it.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the questions that came up was, what about the concerns on the environment? How can we use AI to help without draining our scarce resources? Is there some guidance on this?
That is a concern. Yeah, that is a concern. It's true. And where that's born from is actually the fact that I was talking about before. Despite how sophisticated the AIs appear, they're actually surprisingly unsophisticated. All they're ever doing is guessing that next token. As a result, it's true, the current models are very inefficient. Instead of thinking about things in a top-down way, they start from the bottom and they sift very quickly through massive oceans of data in order to arrive at these eerily accurate predictions and relevant answers to inquiries. It is an inherently inefficient technology. That is a concern, and remedying that would require a sea change. It would require the things we're dealing with to be actual true intelligences that reason in a top-down way, as well as just assembling things from tiny components. Because the large language model, the generative AI model, is intrinsically inherently inefficient. That's not a concern that anyone can resolve until there's a sea change in the industry. And if there is a sea change to genuine artificial intelligences, that will bring about all sorts of problems of its own. So no, I'm afraid there is no resolution to the issue of efficiency, other than endeavoring to use renewable energy to power these things. But they're always going to be power hungry in terms of both processing and pure electricity.
Do you have any, I know that your direct experience in terms of fundraising AI for nonprofits may be limited, but has
Yeah.
there been anything that you have stumbled upon that does help a nonprofit when they're doing their fundraising?
No, I couldn't. I'm sorry, I couldn't speak to that. There are other people within the group that I'm sure could. It's something that I could definitely do. Put my head together with someone who knows more about this, and I could return to that topic at some point. But I I don't think it wouldn't be wise for me to give an opinion. I don't know enough.
So I can give you what we have learned,
Go ahead, please.
which is you can use AI to really streamline some of your uh, fundraising programs, and
Yeah.
that cuts out the time. Uh, I would imagine a lot of people on this call are probably 1 to 10 man shops, maybe more. But when you're the secretary to the CEO, your time is incredibly valuable. This can be used as a really wonderful tool to get your calendars made, to get your social media ready for your fundraising,
Hmm.
to potentially tailor your messaging. Again, everything is on our website and it's all there for you to review, but I didn't want to ignore that question altogether. And I didn't know, Simon, if you had something above and beyond that, but we do. There are lots of ways that you can use it that are just simple to make your life easier and cut your time in half. And it's very valuable to all of you. Um, Somebody is asking here. Sorry, there's quite a bit here. So wait, there's a little chat. What about contact or mailing lists? Susan, I'll have to ask you to elaborate on that question because I'm not really sure what you're referring to.
That's a big topic. I see what they're approaching, but yeah, I'm not. It's probably too large a topic for me to approach. I'll end up getting into the weeds.
Okay, let's see. Can AI, hold on, we're bouncing around again. Can AI gather information and organize it for contact or mailing lists?
Um,
I've used it just to organize it and put it into an Excel spreadsheet. I will say that.
yeah, and
Um,
that
that
fulfills precisely what I was talking about before. That basically taking data that you already have, putting it into a different form, it can do that with ease and very very quickly. So if that's what we're talking about, data cleansing also it's very good with if you have a contact detail that has multiple mistakes or a column that needs reformatting. You know how difficult data cleansing with spreadsheets can be.
well,
Extraordinarily good at that.
and Kelly did put here in the chat, which is true and a very good point. It's only going to find what's available online. It's not necessarily going to give you accurate email addresses if you're seeking out
Yeah,
email addresses.
that's true.
So I
Remember,
wouldn't
it
spend too
can't
much
think.
time on it doing that, but you certainly welcome to. But just be prepared that the reality of it is that it may be all for naught.
It's as good as the information available, and the information available is
Yes.
basically ChatGPT. All of the large language models, they use exactly the same Google search, exactly the same web search that you use. So the information that you find online, that's what they're going to find as well, and its accuracy will always be in question to some extent. So it stands or falls on the quality of information, but that's precisely the same as a human operates.
So in addition to that question, Susan was asking if you have multiple lists, some handwritten, will it be able to gather that information and interpret it?
Funnily enough, yeah, it will. Not only because it's really good at merging documents, because again, that's just a data manipulation task. Excellent at merging documents together. Also, ChatGPT, I can only speak directly about ChatGPT, but ChatGPT is really good at reading text from images. So yeah, if you have a lot of handwritten material, I know some of you have old-fashioned ways of working. If you've got handwritten stuff that you want digitizing, it might well be a dab hand at that. You'd
And
have
that
to.
and my guess is maybe that's when you start paying for it, depending on what the function is. So
I think
we're
it would be available now to an extent, but there would be a
right.
monthly limit. But yes, it could certainly do that out the box.
So we are at 12:55, and I think that we have answered all the questions. Simon, I want to thank you so much for sharing your time and your knowledge and wisdom with us.
You're so welcome.
I
I
want
hope
to
it was helpful.
thank everybody for joining us today. If you have any additional questions for Simon, Simon, I'm going to ask you, I don't know if you're able to do it, if you could put your contact information into the chat for everybody.
Sure.
I'm also going to let everybody know that you will get a recording of this webinar. Kelly, I know you were listening in. Somebody was asking about getting a copy of the slides. I know that you provided them earlier, but I don't know if you'll be sharing them afterwards. So let us know.
Slides will be
If
going out
you,
with a recording as well as an amazing resource that Simon put together.
Yeah,
all
I
right.
basically everything I've told you, everything that's in this, along with a little bit more information, is in the companion handout. I do have a little bit more if I have the time. I've got some key takeaways, and
Yes,
there's one
by all means,
concept
go
I'd
ahead. I'm
really like to
sorry. That
cover.
was my mistake.
No, no, that's quite all
You have
right.
3 minutes.
So, key takeaways. AI isn't magic, it's math. Human judgment matters most. Start small and internal. Use what you already have access to. Learn by doing. And the future is conversational, but there's an asterisk next to that, and that asterisk means, but it might not be. I could be wrong. That's where I see it going. There's one more concept, though, that I want to share with you, and this, I think, might be the most revolutionary thing about AI from the point of view of an interface. If any of you have been educated in your life, I used to be a teacher. If any of you have been educated or have been exposed to educational theory, you will know the power of the follow-up question. One question is good, but a follow-up question is much better. A follow-up question brings greater insight. It allows you to explore within a topic, and it has immense benefit to students. But the follow-up question has never been possible in computing. Every time you ask a computer a question, it's for the first time. You ask it a first question search, but then you ask another question search. One isn't subsequent to the other. They're both separate things. AI, the large language models, these are the first time ever in our history as computer users that humans have had access to the unparalleled power of the follow-up question. And that's been so beneficial to me. Being able to do research within ChatGPT, again, bearing in mind that the information involved is coming from search and has to be taken with a grain of salt, with a grain of professional salt from my point of view. But I will ask it a question, and then I get to ask it a follow-up question, and that opens up. This is kind of abstract. It opens up a massive amount of power. And I think that's where a lot of this potential is going to go. The fact that you can actually use this in a way more like a human, it can hold your hand and it will remember one thing you've said. That means you can move on to another. You can drill down into topics, even though it's using the same information that you already have access to. It makes it more powerful and potentially more beneficial because you can ask it follow-up questions. And that's something that I've not heard anyone else mention in relation to AI. But to me, it's one of the most consequential features of the technology. The simple fact that now we can ask computers, okay, but what about that bit? We've never been able to do that before. Or can you tell me more about that bit? Or I don't understand that bit. Follow-up questions, really powerful. And thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, everybody. Please do reach out if you want to speak to Simon about any questions you may have from today or any needs you may have for your website. He is awesome at that. That's what he does. So
I love talking too. So yeah,
he'll
come
be
ask
there
me.
to help you out and make your website amazing. And then if you have not joined, I see that we did get one new nonprofit partner while we were on this call today. Please do join because this is only one of very many resources that we offer to the nonprofit community without charge. So, and we do have a whole bunch of companies here who are willing to share their expertise with you. So, Simon, once again, thank you. Thank you all for joining us, and I hope you have a great day.
You're very welcome. Thank you very much for your time, everybody.
Have a great day, guys. Bye.